So how many records have been recorded here over the years?
Oh, hundreds of records. Yeah, I got a really good start. You may say like a real good push in the right direction when I hooked up with Greg Mackey of Mackey Mixers. Greg had a company called Tapco back then, and he was working out of a basement up in Mukilteo area. They were putting a lot of their gear in my little 20 by 20 double cement garage down there. Is a Catalina console that he had. It was kind of a cross between a semi-professional console and a PA, you may say, but they were trying to get into a more of the scope of like a recording type, reinforcement console. So Greg had brought some gear of his over here, and I was kind of doing some research and giving them a little bit of ideas on their Catalina board. And so, then came an opportunity to work with Jim Gardner, who was the string and composer arranger for Franklin High School Jazz Lab. And they had taken first place in the world for their jazz ensemble. I think it was 1976 and 77 in that area. But I'll never forget the fact that what happened is that Jim Gardner had told me, well, we're going to have our soprano sax player come out, and he's going to blow the hell out of this place. And I went, really? Okay, he's going to bring some dynamite? No, he's bringing a soprano sax. And that person was Kenny Gorelick when he was 15 years old. And we all know who Kenny Gorelick is, Kenny G. And so that was a really cool recording that I did. Robert Damper was part of that. I think Ben Smith. There's people that were part of that Franklin High School jazz scene that when I did that recording, it was my 4-track machine, bouncing generations down to a 2-track, back and forth. And that the recording turned out really cool. And I was very, very proud of it. I think my first national act came when Albert Collins was playing at the Walrus Tavern in Greenwood Avenue, and I had somehow got a tip that he wanted to come out to my studio. So knowing that was the first big national band that I was working with, that really enlightened my whole scope of just feeling, wow, man, okay, I'm getting to that step. But I can truthfully say that I think on Dave Grohl's Austin segment there, Albert Collins, there was a picture of him, and they spoke of Albert Collins. I got actually the demo tape that I did for Albert, got him a record deal at Alligator Records in Chicago. A fellow by the name of Brian Eglou on that label. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Commercial studios, a lot of big studios they're dying, and ever since the record industry has kind of changed, and we're back at I think the early 2000s, the Universal Music Group, Time Warner, and Sony Entertainment had brought up all the labels. They bought them up, and so that kind of like the budgets for the producers making, let's say, $150,000 budget to do a record, dropped, to $75,000, and then it went down to, $35,000, and now, back a couple of years ago, it went even lower than that. So because everybody can be making records out of their homes and their basements and their closets, so and that's all got to do with Pro Tools and, the computers, and nowadays the different analog digital converters that they have. So, that's the change of the times. Right now, I understand that half the studios in Nashville, this is what I'm hearing from a couple different sources, have closed their doors to recording and have opened it to education. And so education in the audio business is a big thing, and that's what I'm putting my thumbs on right now.
So you recently started an educational nonprofit component of Robert Lang Studios. What made you decide to start teaching?
It was just because of branching the education with the studio business was able to support our food on the table and the bills and our mortgage payments.
Awesome.
Yeah, but now I'm now pursuing another angle of this and going out seeking a lot of money to finish the building down below here, and then also branch that into actually a profit studio in Mexico, and nonprofit here, and then a profit situation back at in Mexico at Ponte de Mita.
So Sonic Highways is a sort of celebration of sacred spaces where music can happen, and has happened over the years. Mm-hmm. What do you think Robert Lang Studios is so special, and why did Dave choose this studio over other studios in Seattle?
Well, first of all, he was living up the street. That was a shoo-in. I got to laugh about that because everything kind of in time and space, good things happen, good vibes happen. Things are nothing coincidental in my particular life and a lot of people's lives. They happen for reasons. And Dave came to this area and just so happened to buy a house up the street. And his wife at that time, her name was Jennifer. And I think she may have worked at the QFC up the street here. But it was the winter, about a week or two before Christmas of '93, that I got a call from John Silva's management and asking if I would have the opportunity, and the studio was open, to have Dave and Chris come by and take a look at the studio. And they came in and walked around and felt the studio, the vibe of the studio. Dave really liked it. They were amazed at the rocks and all the, even though he made some kind of interview with some Australian thing. Well, weird place, and the rock's the worst material to build a studio out of. Well, guess what? All rocks aren't really super hard, but these ones have a little texture to them and they break up some sound waves. But I got a lot of flack, back when I was building that back in '93, and people were going, "Hey," he goes, "yeah, look at Robert, he's putting all this marble and granite on the floor, and he's up the acoustics and this and that." It's like, well, I got to really have the last laugh on this one, because it was during that time when I was putting the last couple of rocks up on the walls down there that Michael Beinhorn and Jason Casaro, Adam Casper, Matt Cameron, and Greg Keplinger all came to the studio with a snare drum and started bap, bap, bap. It was for doing drum tracks for the album Super Unknown. And so I had taken a deposit from a record label out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin called Narada. And that person, I think Michael Narada Walden, he was the producer for Clive Davis of Arista Records. And in fact, he actually produced a couple of Kenny G's first records and Whitney Houston. So I already took a deposit from those, that record label, Narada. And so I was buying stuff, audio wire, Megami wire, to start building the control room. Well, I'm putting rocks up on the walls and stuff like that. They wanted the studio really bad, and they said, "Hey, we'll bring a truck out and we'll run some wires and cables in through the doors here, and we'll do some drums for 2 weeks." But I didn't want to shit on Narada and those people, because it was for an artist that I already done a couple of records for named Michael Gettle in Seattle here, so couldn't go there. But the funny thing is that, so we returned to do that Black Hole Sun, that song with Peter Frampton for the album Fingerprints years and years later after that. But yeah, I can truthfully say there's a certain sound in that room that people want. It's a drum sound, and it's very unique. You can take a dead room, build a dead room, but you can't make it live. You can take a live room and make it dead, and that's where the direction I was going.
So Dave was here. He shot an episode. It's airing. It's coming up this week. What was that like?
When they were here, it was very, very cool. It was the weather was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It couldn't be in any better weather here. Again, the studio, the crew that I had here, all the people that were all part of this situation. My wife Tina, Bella, Marley, Heather, all the people that were a part of people being here, working, jointly together, making this thing a wonderful experience with them. That's the main golden thing, because it's all about the vibe. And if you don't have a proper vibe, that they'll sense that. So, and then of course with the vibe, you got to make sure everything technically is working perfect, because that will throw things out of kilter. But that whole session went down, unbelievable. And I heard like about a week or two before the riff was going to be David Bowie's song Changes. And I've got to say that was kind of going to be a cool riff, for his song. But when he got here, there was a whole different mode set, and it was more of I believe, a spiritual mode set on that. And as Dave comes into the studio, he's feeling what's going on here. He writes about the scene in Seattle, and some of this pertains to Subterranean. I would say would pertain to the early Sub Pop. their company was called Subterranean, I believe, before pre-Sub Pop. And then what we've been able to do here, digging underground in the earth, and also combining Dave's lyrics with the agony of Kurt Cobain and all that, all the lyrics in that song kind of blend together, you know, for what Dave expressed in his life and how he was affected by that. But coincidentally, these lyrics also tie into what has gone on with our personal lives here, and then it relates into a phenomena through a prophecy of a flashlight, a bright light flashing, and I found a piece of marble that I was cutting on that is an image. It has an image of a saint in there, and it is referred to a supernatural manifestation of the life of Jesus Christ. And I'm not religious, don't get me wrong, I'm spiritual, but I do understand the Bible, and I understand that good things happen, and this was a situation to where he put God in the stone, the lyrics in his song Subterranean, and that was being revealed while we were doing the song here.
So you haven't seen the episode yet?
No, I haven't. I'll be surprised because I don't know what's going to come up with this, you know. But it was very intriguing, just to have these people here, which was just, I mean, are you kidding me? You know, everybody that was part of that band. It was like, you know, the return of Dave Grohl. It's like it was very, very, you know, rewarding and very touching to me.
What's your favorite record that's come out of this studio?
Foo Fighters, Subterranean, without a doubt, because that has to deal with Dave's personal life, and those lyrics tend to be part of what I'm experiencing right now. So that's it. I mean, that song, that record is definitely number one.